Hello, friends, and welcome to another episode of the This Is Gonna Hurt podcast with J. Gordon Duncan. And if you're wondering why the J, the answer is I'm not a bagpipe player. And if that joke doesn't make any sense to you, I encourage you to check out episode 0, where I explain that joke as well as the purpose of the This Is Gonna Hurt podcast, where we talk about faith, family, fitness, finances, and sometimes fun. Well, friends, I've got to jump right into the introduction. We have an incredibly special guest here. We have the lead singer of Steeler, the lead singer of Keel, the lead singer of IronHorse, the lead singer of Black Sabbath, my good friend, Ron Keel. Ron, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing, my friend?
I am doing fantastic. Gordon, thank you for inviting me back on the show. And you're one of the good guys, one of my favorites, and I always enjoy our discussions. So we've got a lot to talk about. I know you've been very patient and working on this interview for a long time, and I just wanted to make sure the time was right, and the time is definitely right to catch up with you.
Well, it's the perfect time, Ron. I'm overwhelmed. I mean, first of all, we want to talk about Keelworld and so many things, but just looking at all that you've had going on in the last year, I mean, it's like you've got these firsts, but then you've also got these things that you've been doing for 40 years that you're celebrating. So I want to make sure that everyone knows, first and foremost, you got to get a copy of Keelworld, this brand new album. It's a celebration like many artists don't get to. There it is. I've listened to it, I think, twice today.
Wow.
It's a celebration that many artists don't get the opportunity. And here's what I mean. And then, Ron, I want you to talk about it. You bring in all your bands. I mean, we've got Steeler, who haven't put out music in forever. Keel, you literally have, I mean, members of Black Sabbath. Ron, what was it like to go back and like revisit your entire career and put it together on a project like that? What was it like doing all that? How did you feel? What kind of emotions? Tell us about Keelworld.
It's extremely ambitious, and I encourage everybody to check it out at keelworld.com to
Nice.
learn more about it. But it starts with the songs, Gordon. The songs are the foundation of this record, and it could have very well been a Ron Keel band album because my band does everything. We do
Yeah.
all of these songs, the Steeler and Keel and Black Sabbath and all that stuff in our show anyway. My guys can do anything, but I felt that it was a challenge that I could not turn away from. And I'm
Yeah.
motivated by that drive and those challenges to try and do something different, do something that some people maybe couldn't do or wouldn't do. And it was expensive. It was extremely taxing creatively, mentally, musically, and very time consuming. It took 3 years to finish this thing. And uh, it really stems from the fact that I'm friends with all the guys on this record. The
Amazing.
bands that are showcased on Keelworld, it's not just a matter of calling somebody out of the blue that you haven't spoken to in decades. These guys are family, and each
Yeah.
one is a separate family, and I'm proud to be the ringleader of that circus. But it was going to be a Ron Keel band album at first, and I went to dinner with a friend,
Mhm.
and his dad sat across the table from me. I didn't know him really well. I know him better now because I owe him an album title because he sat
Yeah.
across the table from me and he said, "Hey, Ron," shook my hand, said, "What's going on in Keel World?" And I thought,
Oh,
boom, there it is. That's the new album. Oh no! And what if we put Steeler on it and get Keel on it and Iron Horse and do some country music and some metal and some Sabbath music? And so that was really when the seed was planted for this project. And but like I said at the beginning of my rant here, it all starts with the songs. And if I hadn't got that piece of music from Mark Ferrari, it's a song that
mm.
ended up being called "Moving Target." And I heard that riff, and I automatically knew that that's a Keel song, waiting
Yeah.
for lyrics and melodies. So the vocal, lyric, and melody just poured out of me immediately, and all of a sudden we've got a new Keel song. And
Well,
in
Ron,
addition, go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. I
Yeah,
could.
in listening to it's a testimony to your love of music. I mean, first of all, there's a genuineness in the songs, but then it's a tribute to your fans who have been with you across genres through decades. I mean, when you listen to Moving Target, it genuinely sounds like Keel. The production sounds like a song that you would have put on in 1987 and just love driving down the road, but it doesn't feel dated. And then we've got country music, and then we've got what Sabbath could have sounded like. So I almost hate to ask this question. How do you take one hat off and you're like, okay, I'm working on the melody line of this incredibly new single, Moving Target, but then I'm also going to write a song that's got the heart and the country that I also know that you love. How did you go from one to one? Did you just work on one, or did you have several of them going at the same time?
The whole album kind of progressed equally, and each piece fell into place throughout the course of the process. And how you shift gears like that
Mhm.
is very much like an actor playing a role. Throughout the course of a movie, an actor is going to be happy, sad,
Mm.
angry. He's going to get his butt kicked and he's going to kick some butt. And all those different emotions that the arc of the character goes through in a film as an actor, I kind of went through the same thing, assuming those roles, putting myself mentally, musically, and emotionally into those places where you can really capture that feeling, that song comes from the heart. Now, that diversity to me is one of my trademarks, as you mentioned, and we do take you on one hell of a ride on this album, because it is everything from country music to Black Sabbath and everything in between.
Well, speaking of capturing that feeling, I believe it was April. You were at the Whiskey A Go Go, and I think that if I'm not mistaken, that was pretty close to the anniversary of what 40th anniversary of the first Keel concert. Is that correct? It was
That
around
is
that same
correct.
time frame.
The first
Yeah.
Keel show ever was April 7th, 1984, and my last show in Hollywood was April 6th, the night before. It just fell on a Saturday. I wanted to get it as close to the 40th anniversary of Keel's debut as possible.
Well, Ron, what I've noticed, musicians like yourself, your friends, Kiss, when they kicked off In the Road, they went and played with. They had never even played Whiskey. You beat them. You beat them to the punch. What is it about going back to a place like the Whiskey and playing after so many years in the industry? What is it about going there and having a show?
Well, really, it was I was on a mission to come full circle and go back where it all started with my band. And
Mhm.
it's a legendary venue. I mean, a lot of superstars, our heroes, and the when giants walked the earth, they walked onto that stage at the Whiskey. I mean, everybody has played there, and you're walking on sacred ground when you step on
Mm.
that stage. And I wanted to give my band that opportunity, because these guys have been with me for 10 years. I've been there, done that, but they hadn't. And when I go to my drummer and say, "Hey, man, John Bonham sat right there," just to give them
Goosebumps.
that feeling and
Goosebumps.
that opportunity was the most special part about that entire show. And to go back where at one point 40 years ago I couldn't get a gig, I was banging
Right.
on the door trying to get booked, and then to go back with my band and our songs and our show and to pack the joint and to have a great show. I mean, I wasn't even keeping track that night of the time, but the show clocked in at 2 hours and 45 minutes, and we probably
Wow.
we probably had another 15 minutes left in us, but, it was just one of those very special nights that I'll always treasure and remember.
Well, while you celebrated that moment, did you have memories of prior shows there? Like, did you where you stood on the stage? Did you look over your shoulder and see Mark or someone like that? Did you have a moment where you just kind of reminisce about the past?
In the moment, you're in the song, you're trying to do the best you can and, deliver the show, but yeah, you're thinking about it. Those flashbacks do occur, and you remember that feeling that you had when you were just starting out, and Uh, a little bit of nostalgia plays into
Mhm.
that, but really it was all about just doing the best I could and making sure that I left that place like I found it, kicking and screaming.
Yeah. Well, I know. So you were there with Keel. You're there with the Ron Keel band. Were you there with Steeler as well? Did you play the whiskey?
Steeler played the Whiskey many times in the early 80s, 82, 83, but Keel never played there
Okay.
until 2014. That was the first and only time that Keel ever played the Whiskey. By the time I put Keel together, we were too big for that room. Our first
Yeah.
show was uh, in front of 1,700 people. It was a
Wow.
headline performance in Southern California. So I mean, the Whiskey holds maybe 600. So
Mhm.
by the time I put Keel together, we were already uh, able to fill some of the larger venues in Southern California. So Keel finally got that opportunity in 2014.
Well, that puts you in rare air that you've been on the stage, the whiskey, with three different bands, unless you slipped in another one at some point in time. So apparently, you put in a band, you slide over to the whiskey. So congrats on that. There's a
Thank
lot
you.
of folks who would love that moment. Now I have the rare privilege. You gave me the rare privilege of seeing the "Give Me Guitars" video, and that's the new Steeler video. And first of all, commend you. Looks phenomenal. The song's just amazing. The song is exactly what it is. But in putting together a video like that, putting together that moment, you've got to be excited about everyone's reception when they get to see it. Tell me about putting together the video, how you felt about it, what you're hoping to accomplish with it, because it sounds great in the first place, but then you've got this great looking video.
Thank you, Gordon. And you are the first person to see it. I just
Oh, you're
got
kidding
it.
me.
Literally, I just got it. And I had a private
Wow.
link and I said, I thought I should share it with you to kind of give you a visual insight as to what the song and the band and what that aspect of Keelworld is all about. So
Mhm.
you got the first
Wow.
peek,
Well, thank you.
and it is a beautiful piece of work. And I credit first, it's a good song, and I'm really proud of the song itself. But the performances that the guys put on, Rick Fox on bass, Mark Edwards on drums, these are two guys that were on that Steeler album in 1983
Wow.
as
Wow.
well. So to have us all back together again playing music, and Mitch Perry on guitar, who replaced Yngwie Malmsteen in the summer of '83. So
Amazing.
Mitch has been, this is the Steeler family is intact and has been for 40 years. And the beauty, power, and awesomeness of the video really goes to the credit of the director, David Pear, the producer and director of the video, who did an amazing job getting those performances out of us and capturing the state of the art. And I don't want to, I'm going to let the audience be the judge, but I don't think
Well,
it looks like anybody else's clip. I mean, it's just a performance clip. It's just four guys
yeah.
kicking ass, but I think has a really unique look and feel to it. It's like nothing I've seen before, and I can't wait to show it to the world. I am debating now on a release date, now that the video's done. How do we put it out, market it, and maximize it, and make sure that the timing is correct? The vinyl edition of Keelworld comes out on Black Friday. It's a
Mhm.
double vinyl, blue vinyl edition with all the bonus tracks and everything. So I was originally going to release the video simultaneously with the vinyl. But I don't think I can wait that long.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to look at it. I commend you guys. I own a marketing company. I looked at it, I was like, the video, the lighting of this video looks good. It came across, looked good. I had two eyes. One time I was just watching it as a fan. Second time I was like, would I want to have part of this? It looks great. And on one side note, we don't have to go into the past. Steeler was one of those shrapnel bands. A lot of shrapnel releases, which I love to death, were just a highlight of a guitar player, and I bought all of those. But Steeler was the unique, original shrapnel band. And so my hope for you is that people will see this and realize that Steeler was a good band, talented, crazy talented, deserved to be on shrapnel, but a good band.
And the president, founder, and owner of Shrapnel Records, Mike Varney, who was
Mhm.
the guitar guru back in the early '80s. He discovered a lot of amazing talent and gave a lot of great guitar players their first opportunities, like he did with us and our guitar players, Yngwie Malmsteen, Mark Ferrari, Brian J. Mike Varney produced the lead guitar tracks for this version, for Give Me Guitars or Give Me
Really?
Death. So he was in the studio with us. I let him and Mitch Perry just do their thing and stayed out of their way and let them create that guitar magic that Mitch is absolutely just one of the best players in the business. And he sunk his teeth into that session, and the guitar work is amazing. Nobody's going to miss Malmsteen on this track, that's for sure.
No, no. And I've got to give you credit. I'm a wonderfully happy and content rhythm player. The rhythm work on this is good, Ron. I got to give it to you. I don't think people realize you play, just hard rock rhythm. I think you set yourself apart as a country artist for a while there, but commend you on the hard rock rhythm of the video.
Thank you.
Well, let me ask you another question, just for a serious moment here. We lost a rock soldier just in the last month or two with the passing of Jack Russell, and you were on the road. You knew Jack. You toured with him. You gave a real heartfelt just tribute to him, and so I just want to commend you on that. Maybe folks don't know. Could you share with the world, just a little bit of just your appreciation for the man and the experiences you had with him?
Yeah, and today on my radio show, as we record this afternoon on my radio show, I'm rebroadcasting my final interview with Jack and
Mm,
kind of paying tribute to him on my show. His death hit me pretty hard, harder than most because we did have a lot of shared experiences. We played together a lot. We had the same girlfriend. That's how we met. And
and stayed
uh,
friends. And
I
stayed
was
friends.
dating his ex girlfriend, and he did not like me at all at the time. But eventually, we realized that the girls are going to come and go, but rock and roll lives forever, and we became friends. Steeler opened for Great White. Uh, Great White opened for Keel. We did M3 together. We did Rocklahoma and a lot of other big gigs for the last 40 years. And Jack's my age.
Mm,
And I think also something I mentioned that morning, I was at the airport and Jack just died. I found out it's 4 in the morning at the airport, and I'm getting a little emotional about that at the time. I just took my phone out and wanted to let everybody know that I had heard the news and shared the sympathy that uh, the entire rock community felt on his passing because we are the same age, and
mm.
it could have been me, and you realize how thankful you are for your health, for all of the God's good graces that I'm still here and still kicking, and very thankful for that. But Jack was a special guy, and the thing was, Gordon, a lot of singers had multi-platinum careers launched around that time in the early
Mhm.
'80s and mid '80s with, whether it was Vince or Don Dokken or Stephen Pearcy, and the list goes on. Jack was really the best singer of the bunch. He was the
Mm.
real talent. We were all rock stars. Jack was a vocalist. He was a real singer and a sweet, sweet guy. So we're gonna miss him. The longer you live, the more you lose. That's a lyric in one of the songs on Keelworld, "Hard on the outside, heart on the inside." One of my favorite songs on the record, and it is true, man. Up until you're 40, it's all about acquiring stuff and getting stuff and achieving stuff, and then at your 40s, from 40 to 50 or 60, it's about just keeping the stuff. And then after you get to be our age, it's about losing. Your friends die and the kids grow up and leave home, and it's about losing, literally, and trying to hang on to whatever you can as Father Time is undefeated.
Well, Ron, thank you. I hope I didn't inappropriately touch on a nerve there.
Not at all, man. No, no.
I
Anytime I
appreciate it.
can pay tribute to, we got a lot of fallen heroes, man. A lot of, I'm very thankful that I'm still here. But yeah, there's, and here where we sit, Gordon. I don't want to get too sentimental or whatever, but right behind the camera is a stage where I built a stage in my basement where I
Mhm.
rehearse, and it's got lights and a PA system and all that right behind where you're sitting right now. I'm
Yeah.
looking at it, and I rehearse down here often. I'm a firm believer in practice and preparation, so I'm down here singing and going through the show on my own by myself, if not daily, then every other day or as often as I
Sure,
possibly
sure.
can for 2 hours, screaming and belting and throwing the guitar around and hitting the ceiling with the mic stand. And I'm in here by myself. And when I do that, I see all of my friends and family that have passed away, like right in front of me, like they're the audience. My mom, my dad, my best man at my wedding, the list goes on, all the rocker friends and musicians. And I started a list of all the guys that I've been in bands with
Wow.
that are dead,
Oh, wow. Mm.
and I try and honor their memory by keeping going and doing my best and taking a lot of pride in my work. But that's my audience down here in the basement. And I tell you, sometimes it's absolute magic. And I get off that stage and I just, man, I hope I can do that Good Friday night or Saturday night because that was amazing. It's some of the best gigs I've ever done were for all my dead friends and family.
Well, there's a biblical phrase about living before a cloud of witnesses. And it seems to be what you're trying to do when you're honor. There's a cloud of witnesses, people who've come before us that we want to honor. And Jack Russell had that blues
Yeah.
voice that was just, you heard it and you're like, that's an amazing. It's Robert Plant type. It's just, I mean, just it was amazing. So I want to commend you just for taking the moment, just a heartfelt. I understand people are busy, but you took a moment. And towards that end, one of the songs I think you're. I mean, you've done so much to try to capture moments recently. And one song that you've done that with recently is When This Is Over. I don't have the track list in front of me, but you shared that single about a year ago, if
Hmm.
I'm not mistaken. And
2022. Yeah, that was,
yeah, and
um,
that was coming out of COVID and things like that. And so, have people shared with you the impact of that song after you
oh my
released it?
goodness. Absolutely. Uh, and I could go on and on. There's a young lady in Phoenix, Arizona, who was hit by a car and lost one of her legs. Her legs were
Mm.
crushed in the impact. And she would send me messages. That's my jam. That when this is over, I'm going to walk again.
Oh,
And so many more examples like that, that people have taken that song. And the song isn't about COVID. It's not about World War III. It's not about losing your job or getting divorced or anything. It's about going through bad stuff and believing that when the bad stuff is finished, everything's going to be okay. You know,
hmm
you've
hmm
got to have that belief and that faith that this will pass. So that's what the song is, and that's what it does. It was a big hit for us, top 5 hit. Um, on
So
the media-based radio chart, and that's
number
why I
three, I
released it.
think.
It,
Yeah.
it, I released it early, not knowing when Keelworld was going to be finished, because it was a long process, 3 years. So that single came out 2 years ago. I felt like it was too good to hold on to. This people need this song now, and let's go ahead and release it as a single and video. And it is one of the bonus tracks on the director's cuts limited edition of Keel World. We've got two versions of the album: the blue one, which is the standard
Mhm.
jewel case, and then the red one, which is, I'm not selling these. I'm giving these away for free to all of my members at patreon.com/Ron Keel, the all access members. So sign up for $6.99 and you get the welcome pack, which includes, guitar picks and koozies and signed photos and all kinds of cool stuff, a Peelaholics patch, and a free copy of the
Amazing.
director's cuts, a limited edition. I did not put When This Is Over on the blue version, because part of our marketing states that this is all new music. And
Right.
I want to
Right.
emphasize that this is all new music, new songs, new recordings. And When This Is Over, by the time the album came out, was a couple of years old. And I didn't want to uh, inhibit the integrity of that marketing campaign and say, look, this is all new music, but this one's 2 years old. It's all new music, but When This Is Over belongs on the record. It will be on the vinyl edition as
Wonderful.
well, which comes out on Black Friday.
Well, one of the things we've talked about before, Ron, is just your interaction with your fans through Patreon. And I can't commend to everyone. I'll put the link in the show notes. Ron treats his Patreon very differently than other Patreons I've seen. Very interactive, very giving, exclusive music. In fact, I remember, I think it was about 2 years ago, where you were beginning to ask questions about Keel World. Like, what would you like to hear? And I think I mentioned some Black Sabbath covers or something, and you responded to me, and you're like, well, you mentioned that some of the challenges of that, but then we got exactly that. But you involved your fans, your friends, quite honestly, through Patreon to put this together. So I want to commend you on that and just say thanks, because your Patreon is not $100 a month to maybe get a shout out on something. You've made it very accessible, and a lot of the Patreon members were part of putting this together.
It is a family. It's more than a fan club, man. It's a family. And I'm telling you, Gordon, I've been way over my head, dude. It's like having 700 kids. They're spoiled rotten too. And I
I
love
bet.
them all to death. I even involved the Patreon members in some of the songwriting process. I had a song on the record called 5 O'Clock Shadows,
Yeah.
which is about adultery, about cheating. That's a woman's cheating on her husband, and husband's cheating on his wife. And the very last verse, I go to the hotel room door and they're inside, and I ask the
Mm-hmm.
fans, what do I do? Do I bust down the door and kick his ass, or do I just walk away? And
Yeah.
the fans said, just walk away. And that's how the verse ended up at the end of the last verse. I don't want to give it away, but give the
For
story away,
sure.
but I guess I just did. I just walk away. And that's because the fans said, that's what I would do. That's what you should do. And that ended up being part of the lyric, part of the story of that
Well,
song.
there's a couple moments like that in Hollywood, very kind of Desmond Child story like telling, that I think is always very relatable. That when you can weave a story through a song, through a wonderful melody, people find a way to kind of latch onto it or relate to it in a way they didn't. Tell me a little bit about Hollywood. So, friends, everyone, you got to listen to the opening track. You expect bombastic guitars, you expect like this punch in the face, and there are plenty of wonderful punch in the face moments in this album. But you decided to start the album a bit more soft. Tell me a little bit about that great song. Why did you think to start that way?
Well, I wanted the first song to be a Ron Keel solo track. I didn't want to put Keel in the pole position or Steeler or even Ron Keel Band. I felt like an athlete. I want the ball in my hands for the first play of the game, and I want the ball in my
Totally.
hands at the last play of the game.
Yep.
And I wanted a solo track to open the record and a song that combines both Hollywood and South Dakota, which are the two sides of my
Right.
personality, the metal and the cowboy.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that song did it perfectly musically. It's very powerful, but it's not so in your face. It's not Steeler, let's put it that way.
Right.
But it really is Ron Keel. That's who I am, and that's what I'm all about. And I felt that it was that first track on the record had to establish that identity.
Well, I loved it. And quite honestly, I mean, I knew it was your voice when I heard it, but when the song started, I looked at my phone real quick, because again, I was expecting that punch. Well written song. It was nice to have that shake up, and I immediately thought, okay, this album is going to be a little bit of a journey. It's going to be something a little bit different than two opening songs, third song ballad. The typical
Yeah.
set list that often songs go through. So Ron, so you've spent 3 years putting together like your own personal compilation of brand new songs. You played the Whiskey. You've been doing a lot more touring. So what do you do with Keelworld for the next year or two? Like, what's your hope to do with this?
That's a great question. I would like to. By the way, and I just got this news this morning.
Wow,
Uh,
I'm
the,
breaking news today. I love it.
the album debuted at 89 on the Luminate hard album, hard music albums, I think is the chart.
Congrats.
It's the chart for, and this is the company that supplies the Billboard charts. This is Luminate. It's the modern standard for, and to see my name on the chart with my heroes, Alice Cooper and Blue Oyster Cult, so that was a huge honor. I just got the news this morning. I haven't even posted it on
Nice.
Facebook yet
Yeah.
because I was prepping for my discussion with you. So to have the album debut in the top 90 on the chart was certainly a thrill. We have some big shows coming up, and we have had it's been a great year, Gordon. I mean, I've been to South America for the first time this year. It was fantastic. The shows were sold out and the audiences were incredible. We went back to the Whiskey, as you keep mentioning,
Mhm.
and we did it right. And it was just an amazing night that I'll never forget. Went back to my old hometown of Vegas. I hadn't played there in 10 years. And to take my
Wow.
band to Vegas and headline and pack the joint and put on a great show. Back to my hometown of Phoenix, where I grew up, where I was when
Wow.
I was just a kid, where I recorded some of this Keelworld album. To go back to Phoenix, where I used to walk the streets as a teenager and get in a lot of trouble, to go back there with my band and do it well and do it right. Certainly a great accomplishment. I would like to create as much content, music videos. Every song deserves a music video.
Mhm.
Every song on this record deserves that same treatment that the Steeler track got. But I don't know how you follow that, man. That is this video. I'm telling your audience, because you've seen it. I'm telling your viewers and your listeners, man, this is going to be a tough one to follow. It's just, to me,
It,
it's
it
the
looks.
ultimate. It's the ultimate anthem metal, hard rock, Steeler, American metal video. It's. I mean,
What?
how do I top that or follow it? Plus, it was really expensive, and so the budget is getting. I don't even know how much the album costs to make.
Yeah.
I'll let the accountants and everybody keep track of that. We spared no expense. Let's put it that way. Dozens
Sounds
of
like you.
great musicians, engineers, producers across the world, all the session players in Nashville who did some of the country tracks. And everybody got paid. Almost everybody got paid for the sessions. And it's really expensive. I went to the studios in Las Vegas to cut the Steeler track and then to Phoenix to cut the vocals and rhythm guitars. So I actually like to, and a studio here in South Dakota that I spent a bunch of money on when the album was just getting started. We cut all the drums for Ron Keel Band there, and I did some of the vocals and guitars there. So uh,
Well,
we have a
I'm
big
sure
show in
you're
Nashville that I'd like to plug that. That's Nashville,
pleased.
and it's my return. I mentioned going back to all my hometowns. I'm bringing Ron Keel Band back to Nashville on October 19th for a big show at the East Side Bowl. And this is, I should have a note here so I don't mess this up. It is a to benefit the Society for Suicide Prevention. And the absolute killer venue, man. The best sound and lights you're going to find anywhere in any venue.
Nice.
And to have go back to Nashville, where it really all started for me in the late 70s, to have Ron Keel Band go back there and do it and do it well and do it right. That's an important show for us. What happens next year? I'm still on the fence, Gordon. I had contemplated retirement. I even billed the Las Vegas and Hollywood shows as my final Hollywood appearance, my final Vegas appearance, because I want to finish strong. To be honest with you, I'm scared to quit, and I'm scared to keep going.
Yeah.
I'm still doing great work. I'm really proud of what we're doing. I've only had 2 shows that sucked this year, and that's not a bad average with all the gigs that we've done. We had 2 bad nights, and one of them wasn't our fault. One was my fault. I'll take the rap for one of those gigs where I just wasn't on top of my game vocally. But other than that, I think there's enough joy that has filled me up from these experiences of releasing the album and doing these great shows with my band. I think it would propel me into retirement. But I also know that a heavyweight fighter never admits when they're scared.
Yeah.
But
Sure.
I want to be that cowboy who wins the barroom brawl and rides off into the sunset with the pretty girl, but we can't always script our lives like that. I don't have any shows booked for 2025.
Okay.
And that's not a conscious decision. It's just because I haven't had time to chase gigs. I don't have an agent. I'm a one-man army. I have a great team here at RFK Media and KRFK Radio that I work with, that amazing support system with all the people involved in all those aspects of my business, but I don't have a booking agent. I am somewhat of a rock and roll outlaw, and they won't touch me. And I have to book everything myself. So
Well,
if I'm going to
I'll
get
have
a
to see what I
gig,
can do on this end to get you out to Virginia. So,
all right, yeah, I
see
mean, I'm not
we
afraid
still got to
to.
get that beer together. So I got to get you out here.
All right, well, I sure hope it happens. I'm certainly very healthy and still singing well, except for that one bad gig that I had this year. I'm not real proud of.
Give yourself a break.
But I'm still doing work that I'm proud of, and I'd like to keep going if the situation is conducive to that.
Well, I think Keelworld's got legs, so we'll hope on that. So I've got 2 more questions. I want to be mindful of your time, Ron. You mentioned the South America gig. Now, if I'm not mistaken, didn't you go and play with basically strangers? And they put together a band, and then you hopped on stage with people you had not played with. Is that correct?
Well, we do this sometimes when we travel overseas because of budgetary restraints. It's just too expensive to fly everybody in. And I'd love to have my band with me. I always take my lead guitar player, Dave DC Cawthorn. Dave goes everywhere with me. And we did extensive long distance rehearsals with our South American, but 2 different bands, one in Colombia and one in Brazil. Wow. And we did extensive Zoom rehearsals. I create videos to show them the transitions, because it's not just songs, it's a show. We go from this song to this song, the choreograph moves, the background vocals, there's a lot of moving parts. And these guys were fantastic. They did a great job. And you rehearse and prepare as much as you possibly can online with Zoom calls. And then we go a couple days early and spend 2 days in the woodshed rehearsing live with the guys. And it worked out great, man. I mean, we did it in Australia as well. We went to Australia with a group of Australian musicians, with my guitar player and a group based in Australia. And it's really cool to give because these guys really sink their teeth into it, man. They're getting to play with Ron Keel like it's a big deal or something.
Yeah, of course.
And they really embrace the opportunity and give you your best, give you their best. And it seems like they really appreciated the opportunity to play with me. And to give some young players, younger, hungrier players, that opportunity feels good. And as
Yeah.
long as the songs are, I mean, I tell you, the gig in Colombia, the first night of the tour, I walk on stage and the place is just nuts, and that they're just very loud and very responsive. And I launch into the Keel classic, Tears of Fire,
Mhm.
and I hear this huge roar. And I thought, literally, I looked down at the monitor speakers thinking something's broken. We blew something up. It was the audience, man. It was the
Wow.
people making,
Wow.
they're singing along and they're so loud that I thought the speakers were blown, but it's all coming from their hearts and their mouths. So very rewarding experiences. And I can't thank the fans and the promoters and the people down in South America, Colombia and Brazil that had the faith in us to bring me down there.
Well, congrats. Sounds like an amazing experience.
Yeah.
And also just speaks to yours and your guitar player's versatility that, Zoom and a couple of practices and you can hop on the stage and get that reaction. So, well, one more thing. So I'm going back on your Facebook page. I'm like, what have I missed? What can I ask Ron about? So we got a horror movie coming up, Ron. You're gonna be doing some acting in a horror movie. Tell me about this.
Yes, I just wrapped up filming. I'm still trying to grow my beard back. I mean, it's been 3 weeks, and
Like,
this is a
looks
very
good. Looks good.
disturbing. I still, I had to shave into a goatee for the role,
Okay.
and very challenging role, and a very talented producer director Terry R. Wickham who put this whole thing together. I've known Terry for a long time, and we've worked together before, and it's a very challenging role because my character goes from being mean, just like the arc of the character in the songs that I mentioned earlier,
Mhm.
being an actor. I go from being angry to mean to vicious to violent to being sad and heartbroken. And just
Mm,
go, this
mm,
whole character arc was what I felt was the biggest challenge. Um, it's a disturbing horror movie,
mm.
but it looks fantastic. What they shot really looks great. And man, just for me to, because I'm not an actor, uh,
Right.
I've done some acting in the past. I studied acting at Santa Monica College. And when I was younger, of course, all the rock stars want to be actors and all the
Right.
actors want to be rock stars. So it was only
Right.
natural. Back then I would get roles as the biker or the criminal or the musician or basically playing myself. This one was much more of a challenge
Mhm.
because it really is an emotional experience. This character's been through some really disturbing circumstances, and he's just the guy next door,
Yeah. Yeah.
an ordinary guy put into an extraordinary situation. So I uh, I was really proud of that. It will be coming out next year. It's a
Okay.
four-part anthology movie, so I'm in one
Wow.
of the segments,
Okay.
kind of like Creep Show or
Mhm. Mhm.
one of those. It's a four-part anthology that the stories are tied together,
Okay.
and we're looking forward to seeing that on the big screen. And I'm gonna fly to New York with my wife, and we're gonna see
Oh,
it on the
amazing.
big screen at the theater in New York. It's gonna be a blast. I'm just glad that I didn't get fired because I'm surrounded by amazing talent.
Right.
These actors, the crew, and everybody involved in me, they're really pros. And to actually get done with the scene, and the director goes, "Yeah, that's it. That's the take. We got it."
Awesome.
Really? That was good?
Awesome.
You like that? Just like
Yeah.
I'm just thankful I got through it and I didn't get fired.
Well, Ron, you're traveling around the world, traveling across the country, celebrating 40 plus years of music, releasing a very unique album, Keelworld. I just don't know an artist who's gone back and revisited different stages of their life. So you've put out something that I would not be surprised to see other musicians imitate, especially when they see the success you've had. So we know everybody needs to go to keelworld.com. And then if they want to get a few extras, they need to visit you on the Patreon. I'm gonna put that in the show notes. Any other places you could point them, Ron, where they could meet you or find what you're doing?
Well, I hope that people will. I know we have a lot of options when it comes to streaming audio, whether it's satellite radio or Spotify or YouTube Music, Amazon, whatever. I hope that people will at least give KRFK streaming audio a
Mhm.
chance at krfkradio.com. We've got the biggest and the best names in the business, syndicated shows from Eddie Trunk, Dee
Mhm.
Snider, Joe Elliott from Def Leppard. My show is on there weekly every Wednesday. and a couple of great countdown shows where it's the top 30 of the top 30 rock songs of the week, Cutter's Countdown, and LA Lloyd's Rock 30 Countdown, which are amazingly great shows. And in between, we've got all the best hard rock and metal. I'll pop in live and make concert announcements. I mean, it really is an audio experience, very much like Spotify or any of those, but you've got real voices talking to you, real shows.
Nice.
So I hope that people will give that a listen and give it a chance. You can find me, of course, at ronkeel.com, and all roads stem from that, whether it's rfkmedia.com, our company that is releasing new product and CDs, not just CDs, but we're going into books and movies in the near future. RFK Media is the umbrella under which KRFK Radio sits. And so, but all this stuff is at ronkeel.com. And if you got $6.99, you can join up on Patreon. I'll send you $20 worth of stuff. And I figured it's a gamble. It's a gamble when people sign up for $6.99 and I send them a CD, an autographed photo, a koozie, a patch, a guitar pick, personal letter, all that stuff. And they get access to all the content, 6 years worth of video, audio, album downloads that you can't get anywhere else, all kind of cool stuff. I hope that they'll stick around, and most of them do. That's why it's grown into such a rowdy rock and roll family at patreon.com/Ron Keel.
Well, Ron, again, I'm incredibly privileged you take time out, sit and talk. I appreciate it. Your team is fantastic. I've enjoyed the new album. Very thankful to get a chance to see the new video before anyone else. Take that as an honor. And as always, my friend, you can come on anytime you want. I'd love to help promote anything you've got going on. Any last words before we hop off, Ron?
No, just thank you, Gordon. You've become more than just a contact in the business. You've become a friend. And I always look forward to our discussions. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk the rock with you and your viewers and listeners.
Well, thanks, everybody. I appreciate you tuning in. I hope you made it to the end here. Check out all the show notes. I'm going to point you everywhere I can towards Ron. And please get Keelworld. At a minimum, hop on Spotify and listen to it. But it's well worth the join Patreon. That's $6.99 and get the director's cut with an extra song in there. And Ron, as always, I look forward to talking to you again soon.
Me too. Thank you, Gordon.
Thanks, friend.